Are you still surviving, or are you already living? In the mid of last century, there was a psychologist called Abraham Maslow who developed or invented something he called the pyramid of needs. The pyramid of needs is a pyramid because what Maslow stated was that there are certain, levels of needs that are kind of depending on each other. The first level of needs is the so-called physiological needs: food, water, shelter, warmth. If I don't have that, I cannot easily get to the second level of needs, which is the safety needs. Yeah? After I'm fed, after I've had something to eat, I can take care of my safety. The next three levels are called the kind of social needs, being in community, friendship, relationships. Then I would call the personal development needs, and then the so-called self-realization needs, whatever that is meant. That is definitely very personal and very, subjective. We don't want to get into this pyramid and all the different levels in detail here, because that's not what it's needed. What we do need here is that I want to make a distinction between the first two levels of needs and the upper three levels of needs. Because what you can do is, you can call the first two levels of needs, the physiological needs and the safety needs, you can call that surviving. When I need something to eat, when I'm thirsty, when I'm not safe, I'm in survival mode. I need to take care of my survival. Yeah? That's my intention, that's my first interest, everything else comes after that. The upper three levels, or how many levels ever you want to have there, we can call living. Why is that important? It's important because I think that living creates very, very different actions, habits, behaviors than surviving does. Surviving also creates actions, behaviors, patterns, but they are very different from the living behaviors. I also think that the pyramid needs something between the first two and the last three levels that's called securing of survival. I not only need to survive, we also tend to secure our survival, to guarantee our survival. And once we have kind of secured our survival, we can move on to the next levels of living. Now let's get to the different behaviors or the different attitudes that surviving and living show or have. Surviving, imagine yourself, you're hungry, you're running for food, you want to find some food, you need to get some food. How do you behave yourself? You behave yourself in a very competitive way. Me or you. I get the apple or you get the apple. It's against each other. Surviving is against each other. I survive against you, we survive against the others, not with the others. Whereas living, in contrary, is instead of competitive, it's cooperative, with each other. It's instead of being against the other, it's living with the other. A good example for me for being in the living mode is a very good friendship. With your best friend, you usually, except you play a game of sports or so, you usually don't compete. And you want to be with each other, you don't necessarily want to be against each other. Other examples would be, surviving mode is hoarding, and the derivative of hoarding, greed. Living mode is sharing and generosity. Surviving means a feeling of scarcity. That can be just a psychological inner feeling, or it can be your outer circumstances, versus the living mode of abundance. Again, a feeling of abundance or real abundance. Surviving is tense. Living is relaxed. Surviving is very short-term oriented. You're in the moment, you're in the now, you need to find something to survive now. Versus living is, I would even say, timeless, or at least long-term oriented. A good example for being in the living mode would be two lovers. Lovers usually don't look at their watch and say, well, is it finally over? No, they want to be there endlessly, timelessly. A very good friendship is not set up to end soon. It's a long-term thing. Whereas being hungry is a I need it now, immediately thing. So it's very short-term. Fear is an expression of survival mode. Love is an expression of being in the living mode. Yeah? A little bit more sophisticated is the surviving mode is kind of characterized by I don't want to be there, I want to get away from that state of being. Whereas the living mode is characterized as, of course, it's good here, it's okay here, I want to stay here, it's fine here. Basically, you can find a pattern of I must, I have to find food, for example, as an aspect of surviving mode. Whereas I want, I don't want to, as an aspect of living mode. So living is characterized by voluntariness, whereas surviving is characterized by being forced to, involuntary. Yeah? In surviving mode, all the others are kind of enemies. In living mode, all the others are kind of friends. Yeah? They don't threaten me, they don't take what I need, yeah? Because I'm in abundance. Yeah? That also means that the survival mode, yeah, is, shows ignorance, recklessness, mistrust, yeah? Whereas the living mode shows understanding, compassion, consideration, and of course creates trust. That's one of the reasons why the living mode is usually peaceful, and the survival mode can lead to war, to fights. Surviving mode is the aggressive version, the violent one, yeah, the forceful state of beingness. Living mode is the peaceful, the sensitive, the empathic way of living. Surviving is egotistic, whereas living is altruistic. Surviving is I'm only interested in myself. Living mode is I'm interested in the other. I want to be with you. With all these distinctions, and I'm sure you find many, many, many more, yeah, you can clearly see there's a huge difference between being and living and acting on a daily basis in survival mode versus being, living and acting on a daily basis in living mode. For me, the things comes into my mind to say, what do I think, what do you think, why we are here for? Do you think we're here to just survive? Or do you think we're here to live?